What's up, Netflix fans? I finally got to see Emilia Pérez. This is an awards contender, according to a lot of people, so it's time to see if this movie lives up to the hype. Let's do it. Also, once again, I want to point out the mic stand is coming. I know I'm holding it. It's awkward. I should have ordered it and paid for better shipping. So this odyssey follows the journey of four remarkable women in Mexico, each pursuing their own happiness. The fearsome cartel leader Emilia enlists Rita, an unappreciated lawyer stuck at a dead-end job, to help fake her death so that Emilia can finally live authentically as her true self. This is rated R for language, violent content, and some sexual material. It is a musical, but not necessarily a musical to where you have these majestical musical numbers and you're going to remember them for the following days or weeks, humming them and singing them to yourself. I didn't really find a song in here. Now, some of the songs are emotionally moving for sure, but I didn't really find a song in here that's extremely memorable, one that I'm going to be tapping my foot to in a couple of days. That's usually what I'm looking for in a musical. But this movie is not necessarily that. This is telling a very personal and emotional story about numerous characters, especially Emilia Pérez, who at the beginning we see this is a feared and extremely intimidating cartel leader, and he wants to transition into a woman with the help of Zoe Saldaña's character. Do this in secret. And there's a musical number surrounding that. I don't know if that hit the mark for what it was going for, but this movie is also described as, by a lot of people, and even IMDb, as something that's a little comedic as well. Yet, I feel like it's one that shouldn't have leaned fully in that direction because some of the things that we're dealing with are personal and, like I said, emotional. There's some very emotional moments in the third act of this film, and the stakes are extremely high. Yet some of the ways that this story is handled, the tone is a little all over the place. Now, that's taking nothing away from the performances. Karla Sofía Gascón is very good in this movie, as are the two, I would say, more supporting players. Zoe Saldaña is giving a very different performance, as well as someone who I was extremely excited to see. That's Selena Gomez. You know, a lot of people give Selena Gomez flack. It's like, she is good as people think she is as an actor, actress, but no, she's great in this movie, genuinely, and I don't know how far this movie's going to go in the awards conversation because we'll get into why I have my fair share of issues with it, but in terms of performances, Karla's excellent, Zoe Saldaña's amazing, and even Selena Gomez, it's very much a supporting role, and so I'm like, could she get some awards love? I don't know. I need to dive deeper into the Oscar race this year because it seems like it's not really that packed across the board. Now, another thing, this is a French film. It's going to be France's entry into international feature at the Oscars. It's probably going to get a nomination because of all the hype, because of how it performed at the Cannes Film Festival. But it's a movie set in Mexico, and it's a film in mostly Spanish. And so I'm like, that's okay. Now, that does give Zoe Saldaña and Selena Gomez the opportunity to speak in Spanish in this film, and that was cool. It was nice to see another side of them because we're used to seeing them, you know, Selena Gomez, Only Murders in the Building, Zoe Saldaña, all these blockbusters, and it's like, yeah, it's nice to see a different side, and for some reason, I feel like they were honing in their performances even more. Obviously, the material and kind of what they thought the tone of this movie was going to be, but also they're singing. They're singing a lot. They're singing songs about everything going on, from trying to express their feelings through these musical numbers, singing on a street market with a bunch of people in the background. There's a certain song about transitioning and singing about penis and vagina, and I understand what they were going for, but it just comes across as extremely, and not talking about one musical number, multiple musical numbers, it comes across as a little awkward, because I felt as if we could have expressed these things utilizing dialogue as opposed to singing a little better, to where it comes across as less awkward and more, there's a lot going on, so we're going to try to give you a hint as to what to focus on here. This movie is scattered. It's all over the place, man. There are so many characters, so many emotional stakes, so many things that we have to focus on and kind of pay attention to. And not that I was lost. I was never lost watching this movie, but I was thinking it's all over the place. And I would really like to focus because the characters are interesting. And if we would have gotten a little more time with kind of the focal points of this movie, I would have been a happy camper. But because we didn't, and we're spreading our attention into numerous places, and on top of that, we don't just get a lot of standard scenes with dialogue between two characters. It's a bunch of musical numbers to where the music's not very memorable and they're a little awkwardly paced and I'm not really digging what's going on. It just comes across as a bit of a mess of a movie. Now, that's not to say this film is not ambitious, because what I just explained to you and described to you, it's an ambitious take on what a lot of people will find to be important subject matter and some fascinating characters, and just writing that down on paper is like, okay, well, this movie kind of needs to be made. I'm not saying it didn't need to be made. I'm just saying the presentation is what I had an issue with. The script is what I had an issue with. Some of the dialogue is beautiful. A lot of emotional moments. What Emilia wants, I mean, especially at the beginning of this movie, is to live a completely different life. And then there's a relationship with some children, and then there's some people that don't want her in their life, and then there is Selena Gomez, the ex, coming into play towards the end. And I do wish Selena Gomez's character got a little bit more in terms of development because of how she plays into where this movie goes, as well as Edgar Ramírez, who's barely in this movie. I'm always waiting on him to deliver like I know he can. The last couple of films I've seen him in, and most of the time it's just an underutilized character. In this case, once again, not enough screen time. And this movie is ambitious, but I couldn't grasp exactly what they were going for because of the up and down tone, because of the inconsistency in how they're delivering this dialogue and kind of the relationship between the characters. Zoe Saldaña's character is fascinating because she's willing to risk it all the way throughout, help our main character with this transition, and this movie revolves around a lot of power shifts, but I found some of these characters just to be extremely superficial, and at points it feels like a stage play, but one that the audience can't really gravitate to or grasp onto, and the ambitiousness of everything going on here doesn't always establish a personal connection, and so this is a story that I wanted to have a connection to, and on its surface, just hearing about it, I'm like, yeah, that's interesting. Make a movie about that. But the movie that they made was just all over the place, and alas, I couldn't really get into it. The movie's melodramatic, very over the top, and I've watched a couple of films this year that have handled that nicely, a couple of movies from India, but with the story that they're trying to tell and that inconsistency across the board, I didn't love this being more melodramatic than not. I didn't love this trying to kind of reach across the screen and say, you're going to feel emotional in this moment. I don't love when a movie does that and it tries to tell me what to think as opposed to me naturally feeling that way. And again, how they handle some very important topics here, I just don't think this movie successfully accomplished that. And so, yes, great performances, some great moments, some songs that aren't very memorable, but they're handled well. And technically, I guess we have to talk about this. The cinematography is gorgeous. The way this movie looks is awesome. Maybe a scene or two that felt like a TV movie in terms of looks and visuals. I'm like, that stands out like a sore thumb compared to the rest of this movie. But most of the time, everything's on point, especially the lighting. And the way these musical scenes are handled, while I didn't like the music itself, everything going on is great. The choreography, Zoe Saldaña specifically, there's one musical performance, I'm like, she's awesome in this, and the visuals of it all, the way they handle shadows and lighting, I'm like, yes, it has it. But again, hollow. That's the word I keep coming back to with this movie. I'm like, everything is hollow. It's trying to make you feel these emotions, but I just didn't feel it.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry.
So again, this could be an Oscar player. Critics have enjoyed it for the most part. I feel like I may be on my own island here, but I want to know what you all think. Did you enjoy Emilia Pérez? Did you like the performances? Could they overcome some issues with this script and the way they tell the story? And if you want more Oscar reviews, there's a movie called The Piano Lesson coming out that I want to review. If you want to see that, drop that thumbs up down below. We're in Oscar season, folks. Emilia Pérez gets a lot right, including the 3 performances from our trio of phenomenal actresses. It's visually impactful, featuring some of the best lighting of the year. Unfortunately, this movie struggles with tone, who and what to focus on, and delivering memorable musical numbers. It is hard to fault the ambitiousness of the story, but never truly knows how to handle itself or what to do with this stacked cast. Also, the ending, which I didn't mention, feels abrupt and a bit unfulfilling. And so those are my thoughts on Emilia Pérez, a film that could be nominated in multiple categories. So this could be one of those years where I'm not as hyped up as everybody else. Also, later today, Red One, the Dwayne Johnson movie. Will that be a Best Picture contender? Find out from me That makes me happy. So, all right. See you soon.